Well, I had to redo this since I realized immediately afterwards that I was actually redoing a whole play-by-play of a match I was doing. So I had to redo this whole thing, which is sad. Okay, what happened previously is that I'm pretty much been busy with some stuff. I was going to do this recording, and I actually just found some old files, videos I was going to upload, but I couldn't remember where I put originally, and I found that I got corrupted, so I had to redo it, and I'm going to have to realize the film footage I have, at least from recording at least, of Zero Fest. It's gonna be outdated though, but I figured I might as well at this point as well. Okay, so far pretty much I got about roughly about 6 matches I show, but sadly 2 of them are from outside so far of what I've been using, and I'll show you the deck I've been using that I cited last, and also has some changes in between one of the matches. First off, pretty much we got the most annoying deck I hate facing with like Kaiju's in my deck, and I wish I had Nibiru. Marius. Probably the most annoying archetype I've found so far. Everything else is fairly cheap, or you at least you probably have copies of. The only stuff you pretty much will need 2 copies of will be about like the coral triangle, 2 Aqua Argonauts. Personally, pretty much you want 2 of each, personally, but you can flex around some stuff. But personally, this is like the right ratio I will say for the deck. It's fairly cheap, if I understand, since most of the stuff, the only stuff you're going to waste the most of is URs, from my experience. So far, Battle Ocean is probably the most annoying thing, and I only realized it after that match what the heck was actually going on with my plays. I realized afterwards. Races aren't so bad, but I regret not rating. Rating is hard, as you all know. Personally, my hand wasn't that bad, but eh. First off, Melody here. You see, the first thing I realized, discarding Heartbeat's Featherduster was my first mistake, it felt like, after this duel. King Jet was alright, but I should have just got rid of Called by the Grave. Imperm. I realized I used Imperm too early. But it wouldn't have mattered. They would have added to a hand. It adds, so I actually got 2 for 1. Everything else is self-explanatory. My Jet gets played. Personally, I think getting rid of Harvey's Featherduster was probably my worst mistake this whole duel. Call by the Grave was the right call, but I should have just got rid of Imperm, I think. Imperm was the only thing probably I probably would have just gotten rid of that whole duel, probably, in my mind. If I got rid of Imperm, I could have gone for game. Maybe. I think. I don't know. No. Personally, it's mostly based around going to your most powerful links. Personally, what I realized afterwards, I should have gotten rid of Ocean after what I'm going to do here. Set Spellstone. Personally, everything here is bad play for me, personally, I believe. Also, Marias are huge. They can actually, if they have Gozen match in their deck, or you play Gozen, you pretty much got game. The only way around that deck is pretty much Gozen match, funny enough. I regret it, personally, not. If I had still had Great Featherduster here, I probably could have gotten everything else done last turn. The only exception is it'll be Argonaut will still be here, but I could have gotten rid of Battle Ocean Got rid of everything else here. Personally, I should have got rid of the Battle Ocean and realized the spell. Personally, I think them not grabbing that for some reason was not worth it. If they're just going to do that, they could have just kept my Jack this whole game. At the very least, it was only afterwards I realized though, but I grabbed alternative. Got alternative in my hand. Supposed to summon it. Sadly, apparently I can't destroy anything. I realized with that card. Survival happened. I didn't realize what the heck happened until afterwards, since minus wave. If you control the Link monster, negate the face ups monster effect. So I didn't realize afterwards that it will just do that. Personally, this is where I felt like everything else should have been different. The only thing I could have gone for game Imperm was the only thing I could have risked. Again, that card is just pretty much bad luck that they actually got into 2 copies of that. And this is where essentially game happens either way. This is where my misplay, like, not having my copies for this whole game was what cost me the match. And also not realizing it, I could have just gotten rid of that. I could have got rid of, and if I just got rid of the field spell, so that million attack during the whole beginning, I could have been safe the rest of the game, personally. Next up, parents, I'm playing against straight up Cypher Engine with the Jack engine, essentially. Personally, that one match was what cost me everything. Also, I lost it like a decent amount of times there. Personally, my hand opening was pretty good. Personally, this is what made me do this, and I was middle of a call when I was showing this on my screen, which is funny. Unlike you starting the back row, personally. I realized the Joker's all did afterwards. But potentially, personally, that was just bait. Personally, I should have Dragon Shrine there first, but I should have just Dragon Shrine first place. And also, I could have just gotten a +1 easily. Since I could have gone for 3 attacks, essentially 2 attacks still. Get a second jet out there, which is perfect for all maybe gates. For just card effects. Destruction by card effects. The only thing I know this whole game, the rest of the game, is that they're always going to have 2 cards in the hand. Joker Starlight, and that. Personally, my opponent should have just done a whole lot here, more. Wait, was that hand or deck? I don't remember. Get right on Blue Eye, special summon that one. Use a turn to show it. Link summon there. Discard Blue Eyes since it's a brick. Get Blue Eyes back in your hand. And also, this is where I realized that I accidentally should have just... That I accidentally utilized the one I sent to the grave, actually. It's Solaris. I'm going to Link 3 there. Bring out my jet. This is where everything hits point lethal. I will say this, there's not that many losses where I actually feel like I actually had a good match. Okay, and here's the third, which I don't remember much about, but essentially it's just a minor hybrid engine essentially that speeds up around this Blue Eyes engine, technically with a ninja of all things. I'll be honest, this is the first time I've seen this deck. The Mastercraft got it. Everything else, Ghost Ogre makes sense. The Thunder King, actually. Personally, Thunder King Ryu is always a good legacy card. If it was still viable, that is, by today's standard. Personally, that card is the only thing I'm surprised about. Only one copy of the whole deck. Pretty much everything else makes sense. Mostly, this is mostly just a makeshift deck. It looks like with some emphasis on the fire deck is going around, and most of the decks light anyway. But they should also put in some charmers that at least one fire one at least. But it wouldn't matter, I think, since they could have just put in some stuff. But personally, there's only like 2 Galaxy Sales format your Summons. Blue Gen essentially for some cards people play, but mostly Summons. Essentially, this is where I actually learned by the ninjas. The ninjutsu art, I did not know what heck they have, so I was mostly just banging some stuff out. Dragon Shrine here. Get one. Activate Melody, get that. Also, I realized afterwards that I should have just grabbed one more jet. But afterwards thinking I should have just gone for my alternative. I should have just grabbed one more alternative for further playing. I'm actually surprised I didn't activate that card early on. Essentially, making him have one break this whole game. If I had just remembered to grab one more alternative, I probably could have done a whole lot. My point, just realized it's Salamangreat, so that card would have been viable once they get rid of my jet. Essentially, they gave me my free alternative back. Since I do have a second one in my grave. But I realized, I could have all my alternatives in my decks. Mostly make them have a second brick card. Called by the grave was imperfect there. I probably wouldn't have mattered. Essentially, I got that one out. Essentially, this was this game. The only thing I wish is my opponent actually let me get done dealing out last point damage for my daily at that point. And then finally, the one game that I'm actually proud of. Let me get my deck out first. This is my Salamangreat deck. Essentially, it's just an upgraded version of what we have so far. I utilize 3 Slims, 1 Regeki, 3 Sinets. Everything else is alright. Pretty much the only stuff you gotta craft is Dog Scrapper, the Ashes, 1 Nibiru, Foolish Burial, but most people should have 1. Everything in 1-time passcode, but it doesn't really matter every team, personally. But since we all know. You essentially get everything else you need in the structure deck. The only stuff you need to get there are a handful of N's and a little bit of R's. Which are like Forbidden Droplet, but most people should have bought the bundle mostly. Or 1 Imperial at least, 1 Lightning Storm. 1 Link Disciple, mostly for a engine going on. to draw, then place one card. In the case, I can actually just utilize it to for Link Devotee. Which I am slowly learning to how to use the Slim Engine with it, from some person told me to, and the Oscar is alright, and I'd have a lot of options. Second A for there, 2 Balix, Lingerbo, mostly for trap cards. Update Jammer for access code shenanigans, obviously, or for anything. Next up, 2 Sunlights, mostly for its effect. 1 Splash Mage, which are easy enough to craft. 1 Trends Code Talker, which personally nowadays I'm actually grateful if it's co-linked. And there's only one point where I actually made that misplay not co-link at one point against the VTuber deck. Next up, 2 Heatlows, mostly for its skill. I am lucky enough at 2. 1 Burrow Slide, mostly for battle. And so I can also change points monster's defense and do a second and actually gain. Personally it's more for flexing though, but it's mostly for my turns where I can go into any cyberse. 1 access code talker. So my opponents cannot negate or activate any response personally. And next up, and this is afterwards I had this, I had the Fire Charm originally, but I decided to go Burl End, which was better. Like, I could have get rid of these 2 engines with cards out of the way, but I didn't feel like it now. Burl End I'm only utilizing for its first effect to, well, mostly people cannot target it or destroy by card effects or battle. And for its secondary effect, where I can battle all my opponent's monsters once each. Mostly the deck I was facing in time of that recording was Rockets with the minor blue and Bly's White Dragon engine, alongside some Dragon Shrines, which kind of makes sense because Rockets are mostly just dragons of all things. Those I'm surprised about is they didn't have Cross-Out Designator released, since that's a good way to banish everything, and that's the only card they draw and see this match. Besides Waking the Dragon, which personally is a devastating card. That's definitely your good with backroll removal. Like, essentially it's a good way, but only I'm just glad at least I actually got used to this deck afterwards, since I was basically subversing for it using my deck. So I didn't get a lot of timing to actually mostly get everything else ready. Now let's get straight into the match. Because overall, this fight was like back and forth to me. I had to stall a few turns by not attacking. Sorry about the shuffling sound. Artifact Lickers. Which kind of made sense since some of my cards banished and they figured Cyber's cards probably. Which was only 1 card personally. Plus, normal sun that, mostly go grave. Discard my spinny, mostly draw 2. Send that one to grave, since I can realize the effect later on for any combo if I want. Or just revive when I have the Chancellor out of my hand. Which is pretty good. Go and Splash Mage afterwards, mostly get 1 more card. Sadly, it's only once per turn though, but I had to go Transco either way. Set 2 cards face down, which are probably my best bets. Moles is one of everything else I realized, but as soon as I saw Gem Blue Eyes, I knew instantly what point it's going to do, and I decided to imperm there to mostly so I can at least start getting my plans up early and figure out I can't afford Jet right now. I gotta stall. I could technically use Prevent Droplet, but that's about it. Like my attack, my opponent would have just attacked either one of these. They would have worked. I could technically get out early, but I had to stall. It's mostly the back rows, the one thing that's got to me. Try and figure out what they were. The top deck I got was pretty much my main way of preventing monsters on the field and go for a complete game. I pretty much went for Link 3, go into Heat Low, mostly for co-linked. Like, it negates the effect before summon, so I should have just negated it at least. I was going to target that card either way. Mostly get Hilo back into for co-link, go back to Hilo, shuffle whatever cards in the grave. But apparently, it was just called by the grave, which they should just left personally. I knew they were going to shuffle it, so I decided to mostly make it happen so I could stall at least. Both of us decided to end the turn. Personally, he could have gone that to get Blue Eyes back in the field. I saw I had Splash Mage, but I should have gone for Heat Low personally, so I can ring co-link. Also, I could have gone into this. Also, I just realized that I could have gone back into Heat Low to mostly shuffle back Rocket Boot Sector Launch, which would have helped the game out, I realized afterwards. Actually, that was my best bet. I was wondering what their co-link would have been trying. I realized that this is not going to be a game, it's going to be tough, so I decided to do that. My opponent will go into Jet here. I got the Droplet, get rid of Splash Mage. My opponent can activate in response to it, the card discarded by Droplet. And this is where I got game. Essentially, no matter what they do here, it's essentially just game for me. The only thing I'm wondering is what the last card was. It kept on popping up here and there. Personally, this is my one timing. This is the one match I was going for game completely. Where I had to install a little bit, mostly get everything else out. And this is my recording. I hope pretty much you like, subscribe if you want. Also, another video is going to come up here shortly. Just gotta wait on it to be done.